support of closing that loophole. Usually they get maybe 1,200 to 1,800 comments on a really hot topic.
Yeah.
15,000 is just like crazy. So that was hugely successful. The second prong of the approach is that we believe that USDA could stop all of this cub petting and all of the breeding where breeders are taking cubs from the mothers at just a couple of days of age and then passing them around to people, charging $15, $20 for people to handle them. And we felt like that already violated the Animal Welfare Act as far as creating stress and trauma for the cubs. And so we went to them as a group and did a presentation with a huge thick book I should have brought for you to see about all of the results of that kind of bad activity and how these animals are living in these horrible conditions, and the cubs covered in ringworm and spreading that to the public and all of this kind of stuff, and asked them to close that loophole that they had created inadvertently as well. They said, you know, you shouldn't use cubs under the age of 8 weeks because they don't have any kind of immune system, and you shouldn't use them over 12 weeks because they can bite a finger off or be dangerous. Well, what they did is it created this 8 to 12 week window, so people are using the cubs for a month at a time. So anyway, we went to them, we asked them to eliminate all contact with exotic cat cubs. They said they couldn't do it under their current rules, and so we filed a formal petition with USDA saying, well, if you can't do it under current rules, you need to make a new rule. Like everybody always says, there ought to be a law against that, and we agree. And so we did that, and then the third prong was to have federal legislation that bans the breeding and private possession of these cats. And that was introduced in the House in April and in the Senate in October, and we currently have about 60 co-sponsors, so it's moving along well. And we know bills like this will usually take a couple of sessions to pass, so we'll reintroduce it again next year. But I'm confident that this is something that people can get behind because there's no reason to be breeding all of these big cats just for that 1 week window.
And that reminds me one thing that when we were setting up this interview, and you were kind of alluding to the legislation you just mentioned, and you kind of said that those bills will probably die, and then you said beyond that, something like most exotic animal bills take 6 years or so to pass. Why is that? Just, I mean, you know, legislation churns along slowly, but is there something specific beyond that about exotic animal bills that cause them to be even slower to make their way or get enough votes? Or?
No, actually, I think they probably carry more momentum than an awful lot of issues do, and there's something that the vast majority of people can agree on. The reason it takes so long is because only 3% of the bills that are introduced actually make it into law. So there's an awful lot of competition just to be heard.
Sure,
so,
yeah. So it's a percentage issue as much as what the content really is.
The last bill that we got passed was in 2003, and it took 6 years to do it because it was 3 two-year sessions. But it was almost unanimous. When it finally comes to a vote, most people can agree that you shouldn't have big cats as pets, and you shouldn't be allowing people to have contact with big cats. So we know it's going to pass. It's just a matter of time.
As that logic spreads ever wider. So this is Talking Animals. I'm Duncan Strauss. We're discussing various topics tied to big cats with Carole Baskin, founder of Big Cat Rescue in Tampa. We invite you to join the conversation by calling 813-239-9663 or emailing dj@wmnf.org. So let's, there's lots more things I want to ask you about, Carole, but we've got some calls and emails here. So, hi, you're on Talking Animals with Carole.